Have you ever had a hard time starting on a design? I'm Spencer Nugent from sketchaday.com, and I'm going to be taking you through my design process in illustrating a poster. We're going to create characters and use those to create a layout for this poster. This is episode 2 of my 8-part series. If you missed episode 1, be sure to check that out. We covered rough sketching, thumbnails, and why that matters. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with paper, jump into Adobe Fresco, and then check out Adobe Illustrator as well. Here we are in Illustrator, and now I'm going to draw a couple squares here, but I'm imagining each of these squares containing a character. I've selected the typeface Altivo, and scaling this up, we can place the character roughly in place inside this box. Now, I'm not too picky about making sure that this is proportionally accurate and all of that. I just need the character shape as a reference, switch the outline of this character along with the fill to make it so it's just an outline on the outside. That way I can just sketch over it real quick. Now that I have my outline created, I'm just going to hold Alt on the keyboard, drag and duplicate this a couple times. So now that I have this rough template, I can go ahead and print this. I like the idea of these parts of the letter A being like legs or something. I'm not worried about all the details right now. I don't know if his head is facing down, like maybe this is a cap. Kind of do the same thing again here, and we don't have to follow the straight line. We don't want to on the letter A. Let's see, maybe this one we'll have him facing like so, but actually I kind of like that. It's like a little jacket. So there's 2 ideas, and you can continue to fill this out so that you have several ideas to choose from. So notice that these sketches are very rough, didn't take very long, and now we can jump into another part of sketching on paper that I like. I had this idea to maybe put a little organic look and feel into my drawing, so I'm going to do some scribbles, squiggles, zigzags, maybe exclamation marks, and I can take this and scan it, put it into Illustrator, and then do a live trace, and I will have vector art that I can use in my poster. So after the scanner we go. Now let's jump into Adobe Fresco and see if we can work on our layout a little bit. So I'm thinking something like maybe a bunch of text at the top here. I could have maybe some characters off to the side like so. I don't know, and maybe I'll have another big character here and I can just mock that up. So maybe that's where I have a big version of one character, and then each of these could be miniature versions of my characters. So you can work really quickly in Adobe Fresco or on paper, whichever you choose. But the idea is to just kind of get loose with it. Now let's jump into Illustrator and see what we can do with some of the things that we have drawn here. So we're back in Illustrator now. I've gone ahead and cleaned up the artboard a bit. There's our scan that I pulled in, as well as some of these rough sketches. This is a piece of artwork I created before, and I want to try and copy this style that I came up with and see if I can apply it to these thumbnails. The first thing I want to do is see if I can recognize any shapes in my thumbnails. And looking at these thumbnails, I can see there are circles, rectangular shapes, lines, and other elements that are pretty consistent. So let's start with some circles, and let's go ahead and add a rectangular element and just rotate or skew it into place. Now remember, the letter A that I had there was just more of a guide, not meant to be the final version. And I can go ahead and duplicate this and drag it over like so as well. If you do want to see the outline of the shapes that you're making, you can always switch the fill and outline color. To help me see this, I'm going to go ahead and make my strokes red and just a little bit thicker. Let's go ahead and center all of these, group, and now I will select all these strokes and center. Now, since I'm keeping this loose, I'm not worried about aligning all of this perfectly just yet. In my thumbnail rough sketch, I noticed that I sketched this arc in, so I'm going to take the circle of the head, duplicate it down, and then see if we can scale this up to create a similar arc. Designing this way helps you create a cohesive and consistent look, but also in terms of composition, it'll make things feel a bit more harmonious. Since we're already working with these shapes, we can also duplicate over. For the legs on this character, I'm taking the circle and we're going to drag up as close as we can get. We can drag it over so that it touches, and then scale up until we see intersect on the other side, and then we know that those are touching. Let's go ahead and finish out some of these other details. So I'm taking the circle, dragging it over like so, and duplicate. That's basically just kind of like rough sketching in Illustrator. In Illustrator, if you sketch on paper, you can convert those elements into vector drawings by selecting image trace. Notice at the top of the window here, we have this button image trace, and now my image that was scanned in and looked a bit rough now looks a lot cleaner. There it is scanned, and there it is traced. You can adjust your image trace by selecting the dialog box here, and there are many presets that you can pick from depending on what you want. Once you get what you want, hit expand and now we have vector elements that we can use in Illustrator. For example, I thought it would be cool if my little character here were holding a paintbrush. Maybe this guy is holding 2 of these paintbrushes. With a few simple elements as well, I can continue to refine and define these characters, and with the addition of a few elements, you can see that this is the beginning of the design. Hopefully you can find some consistent simple elements in your design, whatever you're working on, to use some simple tools to make those designs start to come to life. And just like we did with pen and paper, have fun with it in Adobe Illustrator. Get messy, get creative. You never know, you might come across some interesting combinations along the way. I've now put the original thumbnail sketches on a new layer, and if I turn off the layer, you'll see what I mean by simplifying that design. Turning the layer on and off, you can see that I am taking the thumbnail sketches here and pulling out those graphic elements from the thumbnail sketch. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you so much. I had so much fun and I hope you did as well. If you like the show, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. We'll be covering some more skills to help you along this creative journey. I'm easy to find online on Instagram at sketchaday.com, or you can visit my website at sketchaday.com as well. Don't forget the hyphens. All right, take care and see you later.